I'm sharing my screen. Is everyone able to see my screen? It will load, I think. Okay. I hope everyone able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Hi, yeah. Uh, Hi everyone. As we discussed, I will give a brief information about yesterday topic. What is a class? What is an object? See, class is like as I mentioned, Java is a object-oriented programming language. So everything in Java programming language we consider as a objects. So class is like nothing but it is a collection of the variables, the methods. Okay, so that means a similar collection of similar entities as we discussed yesterday. So I have given an example like if we consider expensive cars as a class, so the objects will be the Mercedes, BMW, Toyota. All three are three objects of the expensive cars. That means we can create one object for a class or more than one object also for the same class. So I will show the examples anyway. So and also in the class along with the objects we'll have the properties, that means variables. So as I showed 2 days back a small example, I have given integer age and string some name. So those are like properties, the data. So for this example, expensive cost, when we consider as a class, the properties of this expensive cost class is those are price of the car and speed of the car. So we can consider price as a property, speed is another property of the expensive cost class. And also in the class, the important area is the methods. That means functions. So for this expensive cost class, the methods are driving. Driving is a one function. That means one Java method. Reverse, reversing a car means reverse is a function. Then we can consider this is a method of this class. Braking. So braking also action, right? So this is a function. So we can consider as a another Java method. So these are the different Java methods in the same class. That means in this example, expensive cars, we have three objects, Mercedes, BMW, Toyota. So three objects of the same class, and price and speed are two variables. That means two properties. So in automation, while automating, we can consider these are data. So properties are nothing but data. For executing test cases, manual test cases, for example, we need test data, right? The similar way for executing the class, that means a test case, automation script we can call. The manual testing we can call test case. In automation terminology, we can call automation script. So to execute the automation script, it is a mandatory to pass the test data. That means the variable data. So we can consider here speed is one property, price is another property, and three functions. That means three Java methods. Driving is one method, reverse is another method, braking is another method. So class is a collection of variables, methods, and objects. Okay. So next, coming to object. Object is nothing but it is an instance of a class. That means object is nothing but an instance of the class. We can create an object with a class reference. Okay. That's why we can call it as instance of a class. And there can be multiple instances of a class in a program. As I mentioned, in a single class, we can create more than one object, right? So we can create multiple instances for the same class. Sorry. So an object is one of the Java OOPS concepts which contains both the data and functions. In the above class example, I have explained, right? The properties, the price and speed data, and driving, reverse, braking are the functions. So the same definition. Okay. So the object is contains the data and functions. Okay. So which operates on the data. For example, the chair, bike, marker, pen, all these are objects. In this world, right, we can consider everything is object, right? So bird is object, cycle is object, so chair is object. So in Java programming language, we need to consider everything as an object. That means we need to create an object first, and then we need to access the variables and methods of the same class. Okay. So that means object is a instance of a class. We can create multiple objects for the same class. So what is it? I'm giving a definitions first, okay, and then I will explain each and every topic in detail. What is inheritance? So inheritance is a one of the important concept in the OOPS. That means object oriented programming system topic. So inheritance is nothing but I will give a example. See, we have a grandfather, the father, and so that means we are inheriting the culture and everything from the our grandparents and parents, right? The same way in this Java, inheritance is nothing but there will be two classes, superclass and subclass. That means we can consider class A is a superclass, class B as a child class. That means class A is a parent class, class B is a child class. So through the inheritance, the class A properties, the functions, everything we can inherit in the child class. Like same way, from grandparents and parents, we are getting some behavior, some culture, right? The same way in Java, inheritance is a similar concept. So from the parent class, we can inherit the functions and behaviors properties in the child class. Okay, that's why they are saying inheritance is one of the basic concepts of OOPS in which one object acquires the properties and behaviors of the parent object. It's creating a parent child relationship between two classes. As I mentioned, class A if you consider parent class, class B if you consider child class. So class A is a parent, class B is a child. So there will be relationship using the inheritance concept, the parent-child relationship. It offers robust and natural mechanism for organizing and structure of any software. That means it is a mechanism. Inheritance is a mechanism for organizing and structuring of any software. When I show the examples, right? So you will get a more idea what is the inheritance, why we are inheriting the parent features in the child class, parent classes behavior in the child class. Okay. So this is nothing but inheritance. So coming to polymorphism. So polymorphism is another important concept in the OOPS. Okay. So this is nothing but the polymorphism is the ability of a variable, object or function to take on multiple forms. So a simple way I will say, see polymorphism means we'll have a multiple forms. That means in Java class, method is a function, right? The function we can call as a method in Java. So in the polymorphism, we will create a different methods of the same name. Example, when we are working on any automation project, we have a requirement. We'll be having a requirement to create a methods of the same name, but with a different behavior. Okay, that means if I am creating a method one, okay, method one is a method name. So we can create a method one as a two or three methods in the same class, but we can pass different parameters in the method. That means the functioning of each method is different, but the name of the method is same. That means the polymorphism. That means we'll have a multiple methods with the same name, but with a different behavior. Okay. So here in this example, if you consider the web run has a different meaning. If you see use it with the laptop, food face, and business, that means don't confuse about these examples. Okay, I will show the runtime example. That means programming example. So you will have a easy understanding. Okay. In this mainly in the polymorphism, technically I will explain. Two types of polymorphism will be there. One is a static polymorphism, and the one is a dynamic. That means runtime polymorphism. In the static polymorphism, we can create a multiple methods within the same class. That means we are creating multiple methods with the same name, but with different arguments. Okay, I will show examples of methods when I am showing the programming example. Just I'm giving a definition here. So when we are creating a different methods in the same class with the same name, but with different arguments, we need to pass the arguments in there for a method for operation. Okay, that means in the static polymorphism, we can create a multiple methods with the same name, but with different arguments within the same class. Okay, the requirement in the when we are developing any project, there will be a requirement to use the polymorphism, static polymorphism. That means in the technically we can call method overloading. Method overloading is nothing but static polymorphism. Okay, these terms are just remember the static polymorphism is nothing but method overloading. That means we are creating a multiple methods within the same class with different arguments to uh, to define the different behavior. That means for the purpose of using the different functionalities. That is nothing but method overloading, which is static polymorphism. So dynamic polymorphism, that means runtime and dynamic both are same. So runtime polymorphism means it is like a method overriding. Method overriding means kind of an inheritance. As I mentioned in the earlier concept definition, inheritance means the child class is inherit the parent class behaviors and methods, right? Behaviors. So in the runtime polymorphism, that is a similar example. So we are inheriting the parent class behavior and methods in the child class. That is called method overriding. That means parent class, if you have a method one, in the parent class is a class A, which is having a method one, is a method of that class A. That means parent class A is having method one, child class B, we can inherit the parent class method one into child class. That is nothing but method overriding. Okay, which is nothing but runtime polymorphism. So in the polymorphism, technically we have two types, static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. So static polymorphism, we can call it as method overloading. The dynamic polymorphism, which is runtime polymorphism, which is a method overriding. Okay, technically we need the understanding only. Okay, don't worry about the examples here. Coming to the abstraction. Abstraction is one of the OOPS concepts in Java. That is also very important topic. Okay, that means it is a technique of creating a new data type that is suited for specific application. That means abstraction we can use as a data type. Example, we are using integer, string, float, double as a data types, right? To before the methods and before the variables in a Java class. So abstraction is a similar kind of a data type we can consider. Okay, when you give the keyword abstraction before a method, okay, That means before the class, abstraction class means you are not, you're hiding the implementation of the that method. If you are giving, if a method is abstract method, that means you are not defining the method, you're just declaring the method. So abstraction class is nothing but which is having the collection of abstraction methods. Okay. And there will be two types of methods: abstract method and concrete method. Concrete method means we will give the implementation, that means definition for a method. So I will show the one example in Eclipse so that will be everyone will be clear on this. The method means what are the arguments, so what is the data type, what is the access modifier. So we can see in the Eclipse. So as a definition I am giving, abstraction means we are not defining the methods, we are not implementing the methods, we are just declaring the methods in a class. Okay. If you see, let's understanding a simple example. So while driving, okay, see here, while driving a car, you do not have to be concerned with its internal working, right? That means when we are riding a car, we should not worry about how engine is working. We should not worry about how brakes are working internally. So those are hiding, right? So when you apply the brakes, the car will stop, but we don't know how it is operating. That is hiding. The behavior, the functionality is hiding in the inside the car. So we can't see, right? So just when you're the same way, when you are giving steering wheel, that means when you're riding it, how the gears are applying, how the accelerator is functioning. So those behaviors you can't see it, but you're applying gear, you're applying accelerator, it is working fine when you're driving a car, but we can't see how those are operating. That means they are giving these examples because abstraction is a similar behavior. Abstraction means we can't, that means we don't know the implementation of a function. That means implementation of a method. We are hiding the implementation of a method in a Java class, that through the abstraction concept. So they have given the examples of car to understand in the real world. So when we are riding a car, we are not bothering about how engine works, how brakes are operating, how accelerator operating. Those are all like internally operating, right? We can't see it. The same way, Java methods implementations through the abstraction concept, we are hiding it. That means another word is hiding. That means we are not implementing, we are not defining the method through the abstraction concept. Okay. If you see here, see a simple class. I have created I have created two classes as I showed 2 days back. So we need to create a first one project. So I have created Java underscore sample test as one project in Eclipse IDE, one Java project. And then when you create a Java project, it will download all the Java libraries. That means all the Java functions, and also one it will create a one source folder. Under the source folder, we need to create a packages. If you select the source folder, right click on the source folder, you can find a new menu and submenu as package class, right? First, before creating a class, we need to create package. So I have created a package as oops examples. The package name I have given oops examples. So after creating a package, I need to select the package name and right click and again new and create a class under the package. Always package means a collection of classes. So in this, when you are creating a project in Eclipse IDE or any other IDE, IntelliJ also another IDE, but we are Eclipse IDE is most of the organizations are using. Okay, so this is integrated development environment. We are using the IDE to develop the projects. Okay, so here when you are after creating a project, we need to create a packages. So we can create multiple packages also. When we are working on the real project, right? We need to create a multiple packages and with the multiple classes, because we are working on the multiple modules, right? Example, in the banking sector, deposits is one functionality, withdrawals is one functionality, payments is another functionality. Like that, we have different functionalities in the banking project, right? So we need to create different packages and different classes under that in the project. So here, for the practice purpose, I have created only single package. Under that whoops, I have given the package name as whoops examples, and under the package I am creating multiple classes. So this is for the practice purpose I am creating. So I have created a test2 as another class. Okay, so this is also, see, when you create a test2 class, this is understand this structure. Okay, we need to follow the same structure when you are creating any class in Java. First, we need to give the package. So when you are working on a real-time project, right? That means in any organization, we need to give the package name. It's very mandatory. Okay, because under the package we'll have multiple classes. Why means when you give package name, we can use all the classes of that package within this class. That means classes in the sense, the classes will have the properties, methods, everything, right? So we can inherit from the other classes of the same package. That's why package name we need to define here. So package and package name. And then this is the first line of code we need to write in a Java class. After giving package and package name, package is a keyword and package name, and then we need to give class name. So before the class, we are defining, we are declaring public keyword. That means public is a access modifier. That means when you give public, we can access this class from outside the classes, from other packages also, because within the same project we can create multiple packages, right? That means when you give public, we can access this class. Test2 is a class name, right? So we can access the test2 class from outside the classes also, because we have given the access modifier is public. That means public means we can access from other classes also, other packages also within the same project. Okay, that's why we are giving public as a class access modifier for this class. I'm giving the definition of public. The similar way we have private and protected also. I will explain later. So private means when you give private before the class, we need to use that within the same package. Okay. And when you give protected means we can access from the other packages also. I will give the definitions later for private and protected. So here, after giving public class name. So class name, if you see, when you are creating a class under the package, we should give the name, right? I have given test2 as a name. Just make sure whatever name you are giving in the left side pane when you are creating a class under the package, here also automatically it will give the structure. If it is not giving the structure, if you are manually writing public class name, just make sure this test2 is same, because this is test2 class, right? If you are giving a test3, for example, by mistake, if you are giving test3, it will throw error. Red mark, it is showing red mark, right? That means the public type test3 must be defined in its own file. So it is not test3 class. Okay, it will throw error. That means always make sure the class name should be same. When you are writing it, it should match with the defined, the created class name. So I have given public class name as test2. Okay. So in this, after that, it is mandatory to open a curly brace. So this is a basic structure. We need to follow the same structure when you are creating any class in Java. So public class name, and give the open curly brace, and then define the variables. See, we can call variables as a properties, and we can call it as data. That means 5, 10 are values, right? So these are the data for the variables. Okay. So I'm giving two variables here. So means two properties. So Java we are calling these properties as a variables. So I'm calling these as variables. So integer x is a integer variable, and the value of the x is 5. That means integer means numeric value, right? That's why I have initialized. Initializing means so declaring value, right? So I have initializing with the 5 value, 5 number, because it's an integer. If you see, there is a another variable string data type. Integer, int, string are data types. So z is a another variable which is a string type. Okay. For the value, I have initialized as a string value. That means a group of characters. Venkat, v is a one character, e is another character, n is another character. So the group of characters, venkat. So the group of characters, we can call it as a string. So I need to, when the variable is a z, the name of the variable z, the data type of the variable is string type, then we need to initialize string value. Always string value, we need to keep it in double quotations in Java. So when you are not giving double quotations, it will throw error. If you see, I am removing the double quotations. It will throw error. Venkat cannot be resolved to a variable. That means because z is a string type of variable, so obviously I should give double quotations. That is the format of the string value. Okay. So always string value is a group of characters. I need to give within the double quotations. Then only it will consider as a string data type. So this is the defining the string variable and initializing the value Venkat value with the z is a string variable, right? So I am initializing Venkat as a value for the string z variable, string type of z variable. The same way, w is another variable which is a string type. That's why I am assigning the string value as a Sairam. Yes is one character, A is another character. That means a group of 6 characters. That means a string. So I'm giving within the double quotations. So always when you are defining the variables based on the data types, we need to assign the values. In the above, I have given y. Y is a integer variable. That's why I am assigning the numeric value, because y is an integer. So integer means I should assign, I should allocate, I need to initialize, all are same. I need to initialize with the numeric value. If z is a string data type, I need to initialize with the string value. Okay. So defining, these are the ways defining the different variables in the test2 class. Any class. When you are creating any class in Java, these are the basic structure we need to follow. First, we need to give package name, and then we need to write. Always no need to write public class. You can give private also, you can give protected also. It depends on your project need. When you are when you are developing a project in any organization, we need to create a few public classes, few private classes, few protected classes. That is depends on your project requirement. So for sample purpose, I am giving in this example public as a access modifier for the class test2. So always we need to write access modifier, class is a keyword, class name. So these three are mandatory. Okay. And after public class name, we need to open a curly brace. And always remember, when you open a curly brace, it is a mandatory to close the curly brace. So we need to immediately, when you are creating a class, immediately give the open curly brace and closed curly brace, and then give some space. Example, what I am saying, right? Like this, public class, just I am copying all this. Okay, just I am giving you how we need to write when you are writing a class. See package name, public class name. Just give two parentheses after class name, curly open curly brace, closed curly brace, and give some enter some space because we need to write the lines of code, right? So always remember when you open a curly brace, we need to close it and we need to write the lines of code. So I have given, I wrote the lines of code like this, right? So in line number 5, I have defined a variable x. In line number 6, I have defined variable y. In line number 7, I have defined string variable z. In line number 8, I have defined string variable w. The same way, we need to write the lines of code depends on the project need, the requirement. Okay. So after initializing the variables in a class, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm telling once again, for any Java class, the main method is very important. So that the syntax also same. We need to follow the same syntax when you are writing, when you are defining main method in any Java class. This is very same. The syntax of the main method is same. Public access modifier, static. Main method is a static always because we are not creating a object for a main method. Okay, I will tell the what is the static later. Just why I'm giving static, I'm explaining here. Main is a method in Java class that we, for main method always the static keyword should use because as I mentioned, right, in a Java class we'll have multiple methods, right? To access the methods, we need to create the objects for the class. Okay, but for a method, the main is a the main method is a only one method we need to create in any class in Java, like public static void main. The syntax is same. We are in the main method, we are passing within the open bracket and close bracket. That means this is the signature of the method. When you are creating any method in Java, we need to write like method name, and we need these are optionals. We can give void or we can give integer, we can give string, we can give static or without static, we can give public or private and protected. These are, we can give anything based on the project need, but main method name is same always because in every Java class we need to write only one main method, not more than one main method. Only one main method we need to write in every Java class. What is the purpose of writing one main method? What is the why we are creating main method means Java, when you are executing this program. So I have written this class, right? I wrote all the lines of code. I want to execute this program, this class. Then Java JVM, Java Virtual Machine, it will look for the main method only because in Java the execution, the compiling everything will start from the main method. So the JVM engine, we can call it as JVM engine. Okay, so the program will execute the JVM before program execution. JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Okay, when you are installing Java, the JVM will be there, right? For every for when you are creating any class, before the execution of a class, that means when you are executing a class, the JVM, Java Virtual Machine, will look for the main method. If there is no main method, you can't able to execute the program. So it is a mandatory to create one main method in a Java class. Then only JVM will able to compile the program, will able to execute the program. Okay, it is always mandatory to create one main method in any Java class. Okay, so this is very important, guys. Main method, without main method, you can't able to execute the program. Okay, always define the main method in any Java class. And also the syntax is same always. This main method syntax, right? As I mentioned, public static void, you can change for other methods. But for main method, these are the same, constant. Always the main method is public. Always the main method is static. always the main method is void. Why means we can access the main method from the other classes also. And also static means you're you can't create the object for the main method. Okay. And also void means this main method won't return any value. Normally, when you are creating a methods in a Java, when you give instead of void integer or string, this method, any method, when you are defining any method with the data types string, integer, that means it should return some value. That method always should return some value when you are giving the data types before the method name, integer, string, float, double, anything. So when you other than void, if you are giving any other data type, that means the particular method will should return a value. But when you are giving void as a data type, that method, if you for any method, if you give void before the method name, that means that particular method, it won't return any value. Only will define the logic only. We'll write the lines of code, but it won't return any value. When you give integer before the, we can't give before main method integer. Just an example. If I am creating a, see in this example, test one, I have created a public, void display. I can give in place of void string also. Okay, string we can give, but this if I give string, right, this method will return some value. Okay, some value. So that means the purpose of data types before a method. Okay, in this example, display is a method name. Always method after the method name, open bracket, close bracket. This is a syntax for the method defining in a Java class. So method name, open bracket, close bracket. So before the method, if you're giving a string or integer or anything, that method will return some value. Okay, just I'm showing an example here. That's why I'm saying here I'm not giving, we should not give before main method string integer. We should always give void, because the main method won't return any value. We are writing only the logic. That means the lines of code only inside the main method. Why means the JVM will come to main method first for execution, and it will go to first line of code inside the main method. That means 11th line, test 2. First JVM will find this line of code and it will execute. And then JVM after executing this 11th line, it will come to 12th line and it will execute the 12th line of code, and it will come to 13th line. So JVM will follow the sequential order. So when you declare in the 11th line some object creation mechanism, so, line of code is object creation. That means in this main method, public static void main and open bracket, because as I mentioned, every method in Java should have open bracket in close bracket. And in this main method, always we need to pass the arguments. ARGS means arguments as a string array type. Okay, string type, but string array. That means a collection of arguments, string array string arguments you are passing for the main method. So always this syntax is same in Java. When you are creating any class in Java for any project, just make sure the syntax will be the same for the main method. Public static void main open bracket string array data type of arguments. That means main method we are passing the array of string arguments. The meaning of this public static void main in Java. So for the method also, after method signature, method name, we need to open the curly brace, and we need to make sure whenever you are creating a open a curly brace, we need to make sure we should close the curly brace, and in between the open curly brace, close curly brace, we need to define the lines of code. We need to write the lines of code. So in this public static void main method, What kind of lines of code I have defined? I have defined, I have created an object for the class. So this is very important. How to create an object for a class in Java means, always remember class name first we need to write. In this example, what is a class name? Test2. So test2 is a class name. I should give object name anything. When you are creating a class for your project, when you are working on any project, right, in any in your organization, you should give object names based on your functionality. Okay, example, if you're working, if you're creating a method for the payment banking project, if you're working on a banking project, when you're creating a payment, that means pay for a, when you're creating a method for the payment functionality, that means in the banking terminology, we'll pay the payment, right? Bill payments. So we can pay any bills through the payments in that banking terminology. So when we are creating any classes and methods for the payments functionality, then accordingly we should give the object names, and we should give the class names, and we should give the method names. Main method we can't change. Main method is always same. Just I am saying other methods. Like example, I have given display as this method, right? So in the real time project, when you're creating a class for a payment functionality, we need to write the class name according to the payment, the functionality terminology, and method names also same, but always public static void main method is same in any method. When you are creating any Java class across any project, either banking, health, insurance, and whatever project you're working, right? This syntax is always same, but other methods will, we will give the names of the methods according to the functionality of the specific project I am saying. Okay. So in this main method, for any Java class, inside the main method, we need to create the objects for the class. That means test2 is a class name. The syntax to create an object in a Java class is class name, object name equal to new is a keyword, new is a operator. Means if you give new, then only it will create an object. So class name space object name equal to new and then space class name. So this is a same syntax you need to use for any object creation inside a class in Java. Okay. When you create any number of classes for your project, always remember when you're creating a object for a class, any class, we need to follow the same syntax. First, you need to write the class name and object name equal to new class name, and after that you need to open bracket, close bracket. So this is the same syntax you need to use across the all Java projects for creating a object. So in Java, in a class, how to create a object means, this is the syntax. Okay, class name, object name equal to new class name, and open bracket, close bracket. And always remember, we need to end with semicolon. If you remove the semicolon, it will throw error because we are not ending the line. So we need to end this line of code. Okay, so this is the same syntax for creating object for any Java class. So in this test2 class, I have created two objects. As I mentioned in the definition of object, we can create multiple objects for a class, single class. So test2 is a class here. I'm creating two objects, my object 1, my object 2. So I'm creating two objects for the same class. So syntax of object 2 also same, right? For every object creation in Java class, same syntax. Test2 is a class name. Object 2. Earlier I have given object 1, my object 1. Now I have given object 2 because we should not give the same object name, right? Because it is, we are creating a second instance of a class. So object is nothing but instance of a class, right? So in this 11th line, I have created my object 1 is a one instance of a class. That means one object of a class. Instance object are both the same definition, same names. Okay. So in the 12th line, I have created my object 2 as a second object for the same class. So we can create multiple objects for a single class. That's what I am showing here. always it depends on your project need. Your project need demands more than one object in a single class, means we need to create a more than one object. If your project is needs only one object creation for a single class, means you can create single object. Okay, but in Java, in a single class, we can create multiple objects for the same class. Okay, so here after creating the objects, I'm in the 13th line, I'm giving system.out.println. That means I'm asking system, the computer, to print the value. So whenever you are giving the value inside the system.out.println, that means you're sorry, you are writing this line of code to print some value. So what value you are printing here? Inside system.out.println, after this we need to open bracket, close bracket. Always system.out.println. That means this is a method, right? This is a method. In Java, if you are writing any method, main is one method. We need to open bracket and close bracket. So here also system.out.println is one method. So we need to open bracket and we need to pass some value and close bracket. So in Java, when you are giving system.out.println function, that means method, system.out.println method, when you are writing in Java class, that means you are asking program to print some value. What value it is printing? My object one dot x. Why I am giving my object one dot x means in a Java class, for accessing the properties, okay, and the methods, always using object. You can't access directly because this class is a non-static class. Always we can create a static class, non-static class. If you are giving a static before the class, right, no need to create an object. But mostly we'll create a non-static classes only. Okay, then only if you are creating a without static keyword before the class, that means it is a non-static class. So for that non-static class, always we need to create an object first, and then after creating an object, we need to access the variables and methods. So that's why I'm giving example. I want to print the x value. So how I can print in Java? Using system.out.println method. So system.out.println method, why I'm writing this line of code, 13th line, I'm asking program to print some value. What value I'm asking to print? My that means x value. So x is a variable in the program, right? So x is an integer variable. I'm giving x value is a 5. So I'm asking the program in the 13th line, print the x value. How you can print x value? Directly you can't give x. Directly you can't give x. Why means in Java always there is a proper structure. When you are printing some, when you are accessing any property and any method, only through object we need to access. That's why I'm giving my object one dot x. So this is the same. When you are accessing any property, any variable, when you are calling any method, we always need to give object dot that particular value. So here I want to print the x value. That's why I'm accessing through object one. So object one dot x. That means uh, always in Java, inside the Java class, for the non-static classes, we need to create an object and then we need to access the values, variables using the object dot x. This is also syntax is same. When you're accessing any properties, any methods, we need to use object dot. So object dot x means I'm asking to print the x value in Java class. So system.out.println will print x value. And that 14th line same, system.out.println another method I have created to print the y value. How it will create a y value? See, I have two objects here. That's why I'm using second object here. If it is only one object, okay, example, in Java, we can comment like this. See, remember this. If you don't want if you don't want to use any line of code inside the class, always give double slash. That means for a single line of code, you are commenting. Okay, means when you are giving double slash for any line of code, the Java program will won't execute. So this line won't be executed. Okay. So if it is not executing, then we have only one object, right? So how we can access all the variables through this single object only? Earlier we have two objects. Example, if I'm after uncommenting, if you see, I have my object one, object two. So that is the reason it is my choice. I'm accessing in this 14th line through my object two object. That means there is a two objects, right? Object one, object two. So I'm printing the y value using object two, my object two dot y. Okay, and I'm printing z value using my object one dot z. So you can give single object also. Example, if I am not using object two, I'm giving say double quotations. That means I'm not. It won't create object two because I have commented the line of code. That means JVM won't execute the 12th line because 12th line I have commented. So in Java, whenever you are commenting any line of code, that particular line of code, it won't execute by JVM. Okay. So if it is not executing, I have only my object one, but I have given my object two here. So I need to change it to my object one, and object two I am changing to my object one, because I have created only this active object is only object one. So through that object only I am accessing x value, y value, z value, w value. So how to access variables using object means object dot that particular variable, object dot x, object dot y, object dot z. So if you execute this program, right, how to execute? We have run button here. Okay, run button here. Okay, or else we have run button here, run test2, right? So we can run anything, but I am running test2. This is the one way of execution, and another way is in the left menu, right? The project, the tree pan is there. This one we can call it as the project structure, right? The tree pan. So come to the tree pan, the panel, left panel, and select the test2 class name and right click on it, and there is an option run as. Same option here also we have. When you right click on a class, run as option through Java application, select the run as Java application, because this is Java application, right? I wrote a Java class, that means Java application. So it is asking to run, save somewhere. Okay, see here, this class executed successfully. There is no errors. If any errors, it won't execute. If example, if I am see here, if I am removing the static word from the main method. Okay, one second. Static. I'm removing the. I'm giving test3 instead of test2 instead of test3, because the class name is test2, but I'm giving by mistake test3. When you execute this program, it won't execute. It will give some. It will throw errors because this is not a same class, right? So you can't execute it. See here, error. It throw the error. Could not find or load main class. Whoop. The whoop examples is a package, right? The package name. Inside the package, we have collection of classes, right? So whoops examples is a package. So this package test2 in module. So it is saying this package is not loading the test2 because you have given the another test class name. Instead of giving the same class name, you have given test3. But we should give test2. That means always the class name should match. Then only it will run. Okay. Example. I'm showing you how it will throw errors. So when you are writing a program, you forget to close the method. Okay, example, as I mentioned, right? For any method, for any class, when you open a curly brace, it is mandatory to close the curly brace. But what I have done intentionally, I removed the, but normally when you're writing any class in your project, right, you may, you might have, definitely will do some this kind of mistakes. We won't close curly braces properly. We will give, and the we won't give the same names, so we will do the same mistakes. So anyone can do the same mistakes. So when you are giving this mistake, if you are not closing with the curly brace for this method, when you are trying to execute it, see here, exception means in Java errors. So exception in thread main, okay, unresolved compilation problem. That means it is saying syntax error, because in this syntax I haven't closed the curly brace. That means it is saying syntax error. Insert to complete class body. That means we need to insert a curly brace. So that's why when you miss any, when you do any such kind of mistakes, right, the program won't execute. It will throw errors like this. So when you do, when you write the class properly with the proper structure, with the proper data types, with the proper semicolons, with proper signatures, then only it will execute successfully. So now it will run successfully and it will print the values. If you see, so always remember, when you're writing a Java class, JVM will come to main method and it will execute all the lines of code. That's why when you see output, right, first what it is printed, 13th line. So I'm saying this, I'm asking this program, this class, to print four values, x, y, z, w. So it's printed four values. If you see bottom, 5, 10, Venkat, Sairam. X value 5, y value 10, the z value Venkat, w value Sairam. So I'm asking this program to print four values. That's why it's printed four values. Okay. So I hope you all understood the basic the class creation in Java today. So, so why I have explained this much means, when I'm explaining only definitions, you won't get confidence. That's why parallelly I will explain the programming examples also. Then only you will get a more confidence. Then you can able to practice yourself. Okay. So all these, don't worry about all these definitions. So as I mentioned in the OOPS concepts, the important concepts are: what is a class? What is an object that we have seen now? This is a class. Class 2. Test 2 is a class, right? So this is a class creation in Java. Okay. And what is an object? Object means my object 1. I have created two objects, right? Earlier. Forget about how many number of objects. How to create an object in Java class means this is the same syntax. Test2 will change for any, if you are writing for other classes, in place of test2 you can give the corresponding class name. So in this example the class name is test2. That's why I have given class name as test2. So class name, object name equal to new is very mandatory. If you're not giving new, it won't create object. Okay. So new operator after that test2, that means class name, and open bracket, close bracket. So this is the same syntax for creating a Java in any class. So in object means this is the instance of a class. That's why we are calling instance of a class. That means with the class name reference, we are creating a object. That means we are creating an instance. The definition of object is instance of a class, right? That's why using the class reference, we are creating a object for the class. So this is the object creation in Java for in any class. The same way, inheritance is a one concept. As I mentioned, it is a inheriting the parent class in a child class. So that means, simply I will show here. I won't take much time. I'm creating a new class. I'm giving class name as test3. Okay. giving public static void. Why I'm selecting this, right? If I'm not selecting the checkbox, it won't create by default this one. If it is not creating by default, so we need to write, right? We need to write manually. Public static void main and open bracket, close bracket, and inside the method, we need to pass the string array arguments, right? So string args, okay, and also the main is a method, right? Always I need to open curly brace and close brace. So if you are not, while creating a class in Eclipse, when I right click like this, when I am right click new, when I am giving a class, then if you are not checking this checkbox, we need to manually write inside the class. That's why I'm always selecting this. But initially, just don't select this. If you are writing by your own, then you will remember this, how to create the method signature, main method signature. So always write manually for a couple of days. So public static void main string passing this, and the main method I am passing the string array of arguments, and for this method I'm opening curly brace, closing curly brace, and inside I need to write the lines of code. So if I am giving class 3, right? Okay, the same way I'm giving another class. I'm creating another class. I'm creating this class is a test 4, but it will throw error because I have created a test 3 class. I should not give test 4. For your understanding, I'm explaining here what is the inheritance concept. Okay, if I am giving simply, I will change this. We can change the this class name also. We can rename it. Okay, if I am giving test 3 means always I should give test 3. For your understanding, I'm explaining an inheritance concept, so forget about the others. So if I am giving test 3 is a one class, so I will give class A. I don't want to confuse you. Class A, I am giving class B, or else directly I can give class A. That means already class keyword is there. Okay, class B, that means this is one class, class A. This is a, we can consider in inheritance concept, class A is a parent class, class B is a child class. So in Java inheritance, how we will inherit parent class methods and properties in child class means using the extends keyword, extends, extends A. That means class B is a child class. So when you want to inherit the parent class methods and properties in the child class, class B, we need to use extends keyword. So extends keyword when you are using for any class means you are inheriting the parent class behavior. That means parent class methods and properties in the child class. So this is the way we need to inherit class A properties into class B. So this is the concept of inheritance. So in this class A, I have two variables, int A equal to some 20. Okay. String S equal to, okay, A, B, C, D, whatever. Venkat also I can give. Okay. So always see in Java, always remember when you're writing a single line of code, always mandatory to close with semicolon. Otherwise it will throw error. Okay, so semicolon is mandatory to close any all the every line of code. Okay, after writing line of code we need to close with semicolon. So in this class A I have defined one integer variable, I have defined one string variable, and also I am writing void method 1. Okay, just I'm giving method 1 as a name, and I'm writing one method. Okay, that means Just I'm showing example to you people. That's why I'm giving simple names. Println. That means just I'm printing some value. Java inheritance example. Just I can write anything, right? See, system.out.println is a method in Java to print any value. If you give any value inside the system.out.println, when you execute the program, it will print the same value. So just for this example, I am giving system.out.println. I'm asking system program to print a Java inheritance example. Okay, so simple. Method one is a method. I'm giving some definition. We can call, see, inside the method, if you open for any method in Java, open curly brace code, closed curly brace. If you give after the method, open curly brace, closed curly brace means we should give the definition for that method. If you are not giving curly braces, simply you are giving void method 2 semicolon. That means you are writing a, you are defining a, you are not defining here, you are declaring here. This is the difference between definition and declaration. As I mentioned earlier, abstraction means, in this example I told you, right? Abstraction is hiding. When you are riding a car, you don't know how engine works, you don't know how accelerator works, you don't know how the brakes works, right? Sorry guys. So method 2, I'm not giving curly braces like this. I'm just declaring with the semicolon. That means void method 2 is, there is no definition, there is no implementation for the method. So when you give abstract, 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 okay, for any method, when you give abstract keyword, you should not give the definition like this. We should end the, we should declare the method, because abstract means you are hiding the definition, right? When I give the example, you don't know how the car engine works. You are riding the car, but you don't know. We are not worrying like how engine works, how brakes works, right? The same way in Java, abstract keyword means you are hiding the definition of the method. That's why whenever you give abstract keyword before the method, end with the semicolon. Don't give the definition like this. Or whenever you give after the method instead of semicolon curly brace, that means you are defining the method. You are giving that some definition for the method. So this method we can call concrete methods. Whenever you are declaring, just declaring with the semicolon. Semicolon means only declaration anyway. After the method, you are ending with semicolon means you are declaring a method. When you can declare, when you give abstract keyword. That means abstract means you are telling the program not to define this program. You are just declaring the, sorry, not to define the method. You are just declaring the method to using the abstract keyword. That means you are hiding the definition of method 2. But after the method 1, before the method 1, you are not giving abstract. That means you are giving a full definition for the method, because this is method is not abstract. You are not asking the program to hide the definition. That's why it's a method 1 is having a definition. Method 2 is not having definition because of abstract keyword. You are hiding the definition. So this is the abstraction concept. Okay. As I mentioned, inheritance, right? Inheritance means class A. Okay, I'm creating class A. Inside the class A, two variables I defined. I have defined one integer variable, one string variable, and also I have declared one method, and I have defined one method. So two methods I wrote here, and one main method. Okay, class A. Class B extends class A. So inheritance concepts in Java, how we can use it means, when you create a parent class as a class A, in this example, I'm considering class A is a parent class. Class B is a child class. So after the child class, we need to use the keyword extends, extends. So after the class B, when I am using extends, that means I need to inherit the parent class. That's why after the extends keyword, I'm giving class A name. That means parent class name. So in Java, when you use inheritance concept, just remember the parent class will be there, child class will be there. Always give the extends keyword after the child class, because you are inheriting the parent class methods and properties, right? That means inheriting means you are using the same methods in the child class. That is the inheritance concept. Okay. In the humans also, from grandparents and parents, will have some behavior, will have some futures. The face will be similar, right? The same way in Java, inheritance means the parent class behavior and features. The we can copy in the child class. That means child class is inheriting the parent class properties and behavior. That means variables and methods in the child class. So that is the inheritance concept. So class B extends class A means you are using the variables and methods of the class A in class B. That is the inheritance concept. That is possible only using the extends keyword. So class B is a child class, extends class A. That means you are inheriting the methods, the value variables in the class B. Okay. If you see here, the class B, if I am giving, see, as I mentioned, right, to access any variables, any methods, to call any methods, first step inside the main method. We should not write two main methods, because for the class, one main method is okay, we can write. But when you are writing an inheritance concept, just you are executing only child class, right? We are not executing it. That means where JVM will go to child class first, because child class only inheriting the parent class. So inside the child class only, we need to write the main method. Okay. Or else you can give separate class, but I don't want to confuse here. What I mean to say is no need to write two main methods when you are inheriting. Okay. Whatever class you are executing, right? Then that class should have the main method. I will give simple example. In the main method, how to create object for the class B. Class B, this class B is having main method. So how to create means class name. B is a class name and object one. I can give any, I no need to give object one only name of the object. I can give object name as Venkat also. I can give object name as anything. But I am giving for understanding purpose object one. Okay. So class name, the object, the syntax of object creation is class name space object name and equal to new and class name. That means and open bracket, close bracket and end with semicolon. Sorry, the same line we should end with semicolon. See here, class B here. That is the reason I'm creating object for the class B using class B. Class B is a class name, right? So for class B, I'm creating object means B is a class name, object name equal to new class B name. So this is how we need to create object for any class. The syntax is same. Only class names, object names will change. Okay. So class name is a B, object name is object one, new is operator, B is a class name. This is how we are creating a object one for the B class. So after creating object only, we need to access the variables. So how to access the variables? Just copy, just write. Initially practicing, when you are practicing, right? Don't copy the lines of code. Just type it so that you will remember. So see here, I am printing, asking system to print a value, s value. How to print a value, x value? Through the object reference. So object one dot a. Okay, I'm printing this. The same way, I'm writing another line of code. I'm copying, but you don't copy it. You print, you just manually write it. So you will remember the system.out.println method name. So here object one dot yes. That means, see, simple guys. I have created two classes here. Class A as a parent class, class B is a child class. So inside the class parent class A, I have defined some variables. I have defined some methods. I have declared one method. I have defined some method. So these are the properties of the class parent class A. The same way, class B is inheriting the class A through the inheritance concept. This concept, right? That means we are inheriting the parent class behavior. That means properties. For that, we need to use extends keyword. So class B extends class A. Always inheritance concept we will write in Java using extends keyword. So class B is a child class, right? So child class extending the parent class. That means inside the child class, you are using the all properties. That means variables and methods inside the child class because you are inheriting the parent class, right? So always through the inheritance concept, the child class is inheriting the parent class properties. That's why I am creating an object for the child class because inside the child class only main method is there. So I am creating an object for the child class because I am accessing the variables and methods of a class parent class using the child class object. So class B object one new class B means this object one is a object for the class B, correct? So class B, the child class object is object one. So inheritance concept always we need to create an object for the child class and we need to access the parent class variables and methods. See here, system.out.println. I'm asking system to print A, but we don't have A in child class B, right? Where I have defined in A variable inside the parent class. So A variable and S variable, the integer A variable string S variable, I have defined in the parent class, but I'm accessing from the child class. That is the inheritance concept. Always the child class using extends keyword, inheriting the all the parent class variables and methods. That's why I am creating the child class object. Using the child class object dot a means I am accessing this value inside the child class. I'm using this s value inside the child class. So this is the inheritance concept. And also same way, object one dot method two, method two. See here, what I am doing here, using the same child class object, I'm inheriting using extends keyword, I'm inheriting class A. That means I can able to access everything inside the class A. Here in two system.out.println, line 24 and line 26, I have accessed the A variable value, S variable value. The same way I'm calling two methods. In Java, we should not say access, we should say calling. When you're calling a method from one class to another class, we need to call using the object. The same way, accessing variables object one dot, the same way, object one dot method name. So method two, I'm calling from child class B. The same way, method two, sorry, method one. This is method one. See here, we have two methods, right? Method one is a concrete method. That means it is having a definition. Method two is an abstract method. It is not having definition, only declaration. But I'm calling both the methods from the child class because I have inherited this one. So I can use both the methods in child class. So through the inheritance concept, we need to access all the properties of a parent class in a child class. So this is how inheritance concepts works in Java. So in a real-time project, when you're working in banking or insurance, anything, sometimes we have a requirement to create a inheritance. So in that, when you are creating inheritance, please remember this is the structure we need to follow. Parent class creation with the properties and child class creation. Child class always extends parent class. That means child class is inheriting the parent class methods and variables. So how we can access in the child class, the parent class methods means variables means we need to create an object for the child class and we need to access using the object dot variable name, object dot method name. So when you're giving like this, right, for method, that means from class B you're calling class A method. From class B you're calling class A method 1. So this is the inheritance concept. I will explain later with different examples. Just remember. So we understood what is inheritance, what is abstraction. Abstraction means I have given simple example. When you give abstract keyword inside a method, so you are hiding the definition of a method. Okay. And when you will implement this method means in this method you can implement in the child class. See here, abstract void method 2, right? You are calling this method now here. Okay, and you can define this method here also. Okay, me void method. Just give system dot whatever. Just I'm giving system dot out of filter means simply this is only for examples, right? So I'm printing it. Okay, see what I mean, why I'm saying like this. For any abstract method in a class A we have abstract method. That means we don't have definition. When we can where we can give the definition in Java means in the child classes. So class B is extending class A. That means you can define the class B method 2 in a class B. Okay, that means that's why I'm defining this one. That's why I'm not giving abstract here. If I give abstract here again, I should not give this one again here. I should give only like this. So, but as per Java, we can define where we can define the abstract methods means in the child classes, we can give the definition for the abstract methods. That's what I am showing. Okay. This is how inheritance and abstract methods will work. So tomorrow I will explain the polymorphism and encapsulation. So these four are important concepts. First, what is a class? What is an object? We understood. What is inheritance? I have shown. I will explain later also. What is a polymorphism? As per the definition, two types of polymorphism: static polymorphism, dynamic polymorphism. Method overloading is a static polymorphism. Method overriding, which is similar to inheritance concept, which is nothing but runtime polymorphism. Abstraction means we are hiding the definitions, right? That is abstract class, abstract methods. So but today, these details are sufficient. So I hope everyone understood. So if you have any questions, so please practice in home and come back tomorrow. Before starting tomorrow session, first 5 minutes, you can ask the questions. I'll clarify it. So tomorrow we'll cover the polymorphism and encapsulation concept with the examples. Okay. I hope everyone understood the concepts. So thank you all. Thanks, Venkat.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
Yeah, welcome.